Number 5. The fight that no one saw coming. You'd be forgiven for thinking this was a mistake in regards to us saying it's Logan Paul and not Jake Paul fighting Floyd Mayweather. It's true. Logan Paul, the very over-the-top and controversial YouTuber, has gone and gotten himself a fight with Floyd Money Mayweather. And by fight, we of course mean a boxing match, one that will be on pay-per-view, and so on and so forth. Though to be perfectly clear, this isn't going to be a typical match. Rather, it's an exhibition match, meaning that this technically won't count as wins and losses, for reasons we'll get into later and ones that absolutely matter in the world of boxing, but rather just match in the boxing ring to see who's best in there without having any added pressure. Of course, there's a lot of pressure on both sides to be clear, but we're going to frame it like an exhibition. Now, if you're wondering if Logan Paul has ever boxed, yes, he fought YouTube star KSI in 2018, which ended in a major tie. But he's been training to box just like his brother Jake, who's 2-0 after the Nate Robinson fight. And he's been trying to set up another fight for a while. So you could be fair in calling this a trial by fire of sorts, because when you go up against a guy who's 50-0, yeah, that's not your typical boxing match. Then again, this hasn't been a typical year for boxing at all. This fight will be in February 2021, and you can actually pre-order the fight right now. Though you need to hurry, because the longer you wait to order, the higher the price goes up the more people buy it. Which, given the hype that these two men have around themselves, it'll likely get more expensive very quickly, if it hasn't already. Number 4. The people react to the fight. The fight, which Floyd Mayweather posted about on Twitter, definitely seems to be piquing the interest of fans around the web. Based on the bulk of the reactions that have been posted so far, it would appear that most are predicting Mayweather to come out victorious against Logan Paul. The veteran boxer is undefeated after all, with a total of 50 wins under his belt, as we just noted. So you can imagine some are a bit skeptical of Paul's ability, and even if he had a good boxing record, it doesn't necessarily mean that he would stack up to Mayweather. So what do the fans think about this? Well, here's a snippet to their various reactions to this. If Logan Paul actually manages to be the reason that Mayweather's perfect record is ruined, I'm giving everyone who retweets this $10. I'm all for Logan, but I'm low-key kinda nervous. He goes from KSI to Floyd Mayweather. I think he might be jumping the shark a bit, but I'll be there ready to watch if Logan can beat the odds. 2021, the champ versus the Maverick. Floyd Mayweather coming out of retirement to box Logan Paul feels like Daniel Day-Lewis coming back to star in a movie in the Cash Me Outside Girl. He will avenge the NBA community for fallen soldier Nate Robinson. In general, there are a lot of memes about what will happen when Floyd goes and likely knocks out Logan Paul in record time, or just knocking him out in general, which in all honesty is something that will likely happen. Again, Floyd is an undefeated boxer, while Logan is just stepping into the boxing ring for the second time ever. The memes are justified, as are the reactions of why this is happening. And we're not the only ones having this kind of reaction. Number 3. The celebrity reaction. You might be thinking, why would celebrities react to this? And in truth, they react to a lot of things. Plus, if you recall the Nate Robinson fight with Jake Paul, a lot of celebrities, including rappers and NBA stars past and present, were watching to see how Nate would do, and when he lost, they had plenty of reactions for him. As for fight announcements right now, there hasn't been too much celebrity buzz. However, one person who absolutely has responded is UFC President Dana White. Dana White said, quote, "When people ask me what's the state of boxing right now, that's where it's at. Didn't that kid get beat up by the fucking video game kid from England, and now he's going to fight Floyd Mayweather?" End quote. Just to clear up what White said, it was a tie against another YouTuber, but yeah, it wasn't a decisive win like Paul had. Plus, you could see why Dana White isn't exactly amused by this, as UFC is constantly putting on high-quality fights from their secure location on Fight Island. And yet boxing is bringing back retired boxers, and YouTube stars try to make things flow their way. And while there's a lot of buzz around Floyd coming back, his last fight was an exhibition against a kickboxer, and he won in seconds. This isn't exactly the fight that many were thinking would happen. In fact, many felt that it would be Jake Paul that he fought against, but maybe that comes later. We'll have to wait to get that answer, though this does raise a rather philosophical question about what is actually going to happen in February. Number 2. Is this a fight or a spectacle? Think about the Mike Tyson versus Roy Jones fight that just happened in November for a second. It was very clear that this was two boxers trying to show that they still had it. And while it ended in a tie because of the rules of the match, you could see at least that Tyson still had it for the most part. But just in case it didn't play out well as advertised, they made sure the event was lively, had lots of music, Snoop Dogg on commentary, that kind of thing. It was a spectacle. And many are thinking that this is what will happen here. The popularity of the two fighters paired with the growing interest in these kind of exhibition matches could bode well for the event in terms of sales. And you know it'll get media attention. When you think about it on a grander scale though, isn't that what's killing boxing? A lack of true stars and more of a focus on spectacle and making money, more than the prestige of boxing as a whole. Tyson vs. Wilder Part 1 and 2 were the closest we got to that in recent memory, but that's gone now. While it's true that a lot of people will watch because they love to hate both Floyd and Logan Paul, that also means they're watching it just to see who loses, and in this case, how fast Logan Paul gets knocked out. Ironically enough, there is someone out there who thinks that people like Jake Paul and Logan Paul is good for boxing. And that would be the main event man himself, Mike Tyson, who said that boxers like Jake Paul are saving the business. Listen, my ego says so many things. I'm just joking. Listen, my ego says so many things, but my reality is that they help boxing so much. Boxing owes these YouTubers some kind of, respect. They should give them some belts because they make boxing alive. Boxing was pretty much a dying sport. The UFC was kicking out butts. Now we got these YouTube boxers and 25 million views. Boxing's going back thanks to YouTube boxers. End quote. Tyson said. But again, isn't that hurting the sport of boxing? Having spectacle fights versus big box office matches, where the winner can change the course of boxing, makes you wonder. Number 1. What happens if? But here's the real question you need to ask yourself. What happens if the unlikely happens and Logan Paul knocks out Floyd Mayweather? In short, boxing would be discredited in a major way, because Floyd was the end-all be-all of the modern generation. And for him to lose to a boxer from YouTube who doesn't have a win, that would destroy boxing, tarnish Mayweather's legacy, and discredit just about everyone he's ever beaten. Boxing wouldn't survive in the public's eye. It'll continue, yeah, but as a truly cracked shell of its former self. Now, yeah, there's a 99.99% chance it won't happen, but all it takes is one punch. So what do you think? What do you think of this look at the fight between Logan Paul and Floyd Mayweather? Can you believe that this is actually going to happen, and this kind of thing is honestly allowed? Do you think that this fight will be an actual boxing match, or just a spectacle? Do you think that Logan Paul has any chance of making this work? Let us know in the comments below. Be sure to subscribe, and we'll see you next time on the channel.